The objective for this video is to solve a one-step equation using addition or subtraction. Let's take a look. Previously, we talked about solve, the idea of solve, meaning to get the variable by itself. So you start with an equation and you do something so that the variable is by itself. Then we talked about, well, how do you get the variable by itself? Well, we use inverse operations, and we saw that +3 minus 3, for example, would cancel. You get 0, and the 0 goes away, and you get the variable by itself. Well, now we're going to look at the actual steps and do these actual steps all together, and we're going to see how you actually solve. And I'm actually going to stop saying actually in a moment. First, previously we looked at the seesaw, and the idea of solving was to get the box by itself. So we want it to look like this. And then we talked about solving means to take steps to get there from here to here. Well, what we did was what we could do is subtract these 3 guys, get rid of them, but then we have to subtract 3 guys from the other side as well. And what do you have left? A box on one side and 2 guys on the other. And there we go. We just solved. We actually took the steps to solve. Let's look at what this looks like with an equation. Okay, the idea is to get the variable by itself, just like we got the box by itself. I see here that there's a 3 next to the x. I want to get rid of that. That's a +3. And we learned in the inverse operations video that plus and minus are inverse operations. They cancel each other. And so I can say, well, I want to get rid of the 3. So the x is by itself, and it's a +3. So I need to do a -3. But to keep the seesaw balanced, I have to do a -3 over here as well. And so now these 3's cancel. And what's left? X plus 0, those canceled, equals 5 minus 3 is 2. And then when you add 0, the 0 just goes away. And now the x is by itself. This is my solution. And I am done. Let's try a couple more examples. Before I get to the examples, reminder, I understand that these simple equations are easy and you don't need steps. You can just figure it out, but you will get to these harder problems. And when you do, you want to have the steps available as a tool. So we talked about that in the last video. If you feel like I don't need the steps, then go ahead and try to solve this one without a calculator and let's see how it goes. Otherwise, let's practice our steps. Okay, there are 2 sides of the equation. I want to get rid of the number that's next to the x, and that's on the red side of the equation. That's actually an expression, x plus 3. So I want to get rid of that. And then I know, well, plus and minus cancel. They're inverse operations. So I need to do -3, but I have to do the same thing to both sides of the seesaw. And now x plus 3 minus 3, this becomes 0, and x plus 0 is just x. And then on the other side, 5 minus 3 is 2. Boom, I'm done. There's my solution. I have solved this equation. Let's look at some more examples. This time I see that the x is on the right side. There's a 3 there, so I'm going to get rid of that 3. Oh, it's +3, so I'm going to subtract 3, but I have to do the same thing to both sides. +3 minus 3, that becomes 0, inverse operations. And x plus 0 is just x. x equals, and then 5 minus 3 is 2. Oh, wait a minute. That is the same thing we did over here. Well, it doesn't matter what side the variable is on. You're going to do the same exact steps. Let's look at another example. Hey, this is the same as this, except they switched the x and the 3 around. Doesn't matter. I have a 3 on this side. I want to get rid of it. So I'm going to do the inverse. This is a plus 3. So I'm going to minus 3 to both sides. The 3's cancel because they're inverse operations, gives me 0. X plus 0 is x. X equals 2. That's an equal sign. Done. Let's look at some subtraction problems. I have a 3 next to my x. I want the x by itself. So I'm getting rid of the 3. That's a minus 3. The inverse operation then would be plus 3. So, and I have to do the same thing to both sides of the seesaw. Minus 3 plus 3, cancel. Becomes 0. X plus 0 is x. And now I have 5 plus 3, and that's 8. There's my solution. I am done. Let's try a couple more examples. Oh, look, if the x minus 3 is on the other side, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do a plus 3, minus 3 plus 3, inverse operations. They cancel, become 0. X plus 0 is x. 5 plus 3 is 8. I can switch the numbers. It's still a negative 3, or not, you don't say minus 3, but it's kind of the same. It's a negative 3. So I'm going to do a plus 3, both sides. Negative 3, positive 3, gone. X equals 8. Done. It's the same steps. You figure out which number to get rid of. You get rid of it by doing an inverse operation. You do the same thing to both sides. Done. Remember now, these steps are important for the really harder problems that you'll see. So let's wrap up this lesson and see what. In the next video, we'll switch over to multiplication and division. They are also inverses, and they cancel, and then you'll have the variable by itself. So we'll see you then.